the two most important digital assets in the world are digital currency in the form of the dollar and digital capital in the form of Bitcoin. And the Trump trade is I just swap, I swap the gold for the Bitcoin and I make $80 trillion in the trade, and I catapult the United States to worldwide economic dominance for the next 100 years. That's the advice I'd give you.
Very good advice. But given how many people in the US hold gold, what do you think the odds are that he'll actually do that?
I don't know, but it doesn't, the gold is the last twist. That the reason to sell the gold is because foreign central banks and the competitor to Bitcoin over the long term is gold. So the entire trade becomes free and it becomes geopolitically wise, because not only do you enrich yourself with an extra 100 trillion, but you also bankrupt your enemy's banks. So that's why you should do it. But will they do it? Maybe not. But the fallback would be you keep the gold. By the way, gold's getting demonetized whether you like it or not. Like, I will just say, gold is failing as a capital asset. It'll either fail because a nation state puts a stake in the heart of it, or it'll fail because the free market's going to short sell it. I mean, every rational investor that holds gold is going to dump the gold to buy Bitcoin every year. So it's going to be demonetized no matter what. So the reason to sell it is because it's a bad investment and it's happening anyway. But let's say that they don't. Well, you just use $600 billion of US dollars or borrow $600 billion to do it. It still becomes effectively a free transaction. You're going to borrow 600 billion and you're going to pay off 40 trillion, or you're going to make 60 to 80 trillion. So it's a pretty obvious swap, even with just currency.
And would you be perfectly happy to see them inflate the money supply to do it?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, if you're buying the Bitcoin before it goes up by a factor of 100, it's not inflation, it's accretion. Right? You could spend $1 trillion to buy the Bitcoin and make 100 trillion, and it's 100-to-1 gain. So if you look at the history of the U.S., we actually bought Louisiana from Napoleon. I think it was like whatever, 12 or $15 million. We bought Alaska from the Russians for $6 million. We bought California from the Mexicans for $12 million. There was inflation to do that, or they just paid with a check or currency. They were all good investments. New York was bought, but what, 60 guilders or something, nothing. Yeah, so I think that the point I'd really make is you as an individual ought to borrow money against your house and buy Bitcoin. If you're borrowing the money at 6% or 3% and investing it at 30 to 60%, it's a good idea for you. If you could sell 10% of the equity in Impact Theory, the corporation, at a fair value, I would say inflate your equity, sell 10% of your stock, buy Bitcoin with it, because Bitcoin's going up 30 to 60% a year. In the worst case, you'll have diversified. In the best case, you'll actually grow faster. And the first nation to print money, the first nation to print their own currency to buy Bitcoin wins. Right? Like, Tom, look what MicroStrategy did. We basically issue our own currency, our stock, and we buy Bitcoin. What happened? We went from $1 billion to $100 billion market cap is what happened. Is it inflation? It's only inflation if you print the currency to invest it, to make a bad investment, right? If you print the currency to buy something that's appreciating faster than your inflation rate, it's actually accretion, right? So the hurdle rate is the 7%. And the problem generally is most governments print the currency to make a poor investment instead of printing the currency to make a good investment. And that's why they can't get out of their hole.
When you look at the hole that we've dug for ourselves and adding $1 trillion every 100 days to the debt, do you see this as like a no-brainer way to get out of that?
Yeah, I do, because you want to grow your way out. You don't want to tax your way out.